Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the Republic of Swordland. And in today's episode, we find out who likes our actions and what are the consequences of them. We'll start with the Codex. See, in 1957, he was dismissed from his position as governor after the removal of the special zone of Bergia. Yep, that's the big thing. That's the biggest part of it all. He was elected to be the governor of the region with the role of leading the newly established Regional Assembly of Bergia. Honestly, I am not surprised one bit. I mean, who would have guessed that that was going to be the guy? While adhering to the overarching principles outlined in the Sword's Constitution, the the Bergian Regional Assembly may alter state laws and prevent certain policies from being followed within the region as long as it operates within the boundaries prescribed by the Constitution. Established in 1957 with the approval of President Reign, the Autonomous Zone replaced the non-representative structure of the Special Zone, which previously existed between 1935 and 1957, to counter the threat of the British rebels and to ensure the suppression of the secessionist aspirations within Bergia. Let's see. Autonomous Zone of Bergia. The region of Bergia is currently structured as an autonomous zone, and has a different governance structure than the rest of the country. It is governed by a regionally elected Bergian Regional Assembly, which is headed by an elected governor. It can pass regional laws and bypass state laws on grounds they do not contradict the Constitution. Average women's rights. The issue of sexism in the workplace remains prevalent in Swordland, with women often facing discrimination and receiving lower pay than their male counterparts. Our recent legislative efforts have aimed to address the inequality, offering legal protections to women who experience domestic violence. Reconciliation process. A new initiative has been launched by the Swordish government and Bloodish leaders to ease tensions and promote reconciliation between the two sides. The initiative aims to create ceasefire and encourage dialogues to address the historical grievances of the Bloodish people and to promote equal treatment under law. While the progress has been slow, the initiative is seen as a positive step towards a more inclusive and harmonious society in Swordland. Gender equality in education. The gender equality laws have had a significant impact on the education system, with a notable increase in the number of female students. However, despite the progress made, reports of discrimination among students persist across the country. It is clear that more needs to be done to ensure that students of all genders feel safe and supported in their academic environment. The government and educational institutions are working together to address this issue, provide resources for students who experience discrimination. Well, the airport's going well, at least. The Autonomous Zone of Bergia is formed. Ishval Erzin becomes governor. The Autonomous Zone of Bergia is formed. Ishval Erzin becomes governor. The Autonomous Zone of Bergia has been officially formed, and the new structure is currently being implemented with speed. Under the new framework, Bergia will have a degree of autonomy within the broader Swordland administrative framework. As part of this restructuring, the current governor, Herbert Kroll, has been dismissed, and duty following a regional election held in Bergia, which resulted in the appointment of Ishval Erzin as the new governor. Under a new structure, the Autonomous Zone of Bergia will have increased decision-making powers and the ability to shape its own policies within the current limits defined by the national legislation. The governor of Bergia will be heading the newly founded Regional Assembly of Bergia. This development signifies a notable shift towards local empowerment and self-governance. F you conservatives! This is what you get for not supporting my bill. If you supported my bill, maybe I wouldn't have gone so hardline. But you didn't. So, I'm going hardline. This is what you get. Shouldn't have reinterpreted my bill. This is what you get for making a hostile president. Commercial activity reports coming from the Ministry of Economics display that a record number of new companies are being founded in Gulsword due to an economic boom. The reports also indicate an increase in logistical intake, and the output of the city is driving the tech company growth. The results of the council of the city has also reported positive growth for the next few years. Gulsword also reported the most visits of passengers ever, with the people from Hillsword taking the high-speed rail to see the city just for fun. The largest group of visitors are still scientists and students. Actually, you know what? I've been thinking about it. I don't think I'm going to win the election. Part of me kind of I've never done it before, but I believe there's a way to, just say I'm retiring, and just straight up be like, well, I'm going to retire from politics after this, I'm good, and, just let it be. I mean, and I'll just spend my government budget on doing more radical things, and also working on that economy again. A divided swordman, Blutish separatism wins in Bergia. This week, with the approval of President Rain, the creation of the so-called autonomous zone in Bergia, what's a demand of Blutish terrorists has become a reality. The anti-nationalist policy raised concerns among patriotic citizens who fear the dangerous implication of granting autonomy to a region known for harboring Blutish separatists and terrorists. This move seems to cater to the demands of the vocal minority, disregarding the potential threats they pose to national unity and security. The dismissal of the governor, who was a staunch defender of Swordland's sovereignty, only adds to the sense of unease among nationalists. The background of Blutish separatism will surely reflect badly in our government's fight against Blutish separatist terror. Granting decision-making powers to Bergia within the limits of national legislation risks compromising our unified governance and opening the door to divisive policies. This misguided attempt at appeasing ignores the potential risk of empowering a region plagued by subversive elements. I'm not appeasing. This is right. This is what I'm doing, and I'm not taking any questions. Rather than promoting unity, this development risk exacerbates divisions and emboldening the dangerous aspirations of those who seek to tear our nation apart. It is a disheartening departure from the values of strong nationalism and centralized government that have long defined our great country. Desolonization could be a grave mistake of Rain's presidency. What is President Rain thinking? Swordland would be nothing without colonial Turk soul. The man led our country to unity following years of bloodshed, and now Rain is rewarding him by instituting a process of desolonization that would see our beloved former leader removed from schools, buildings, and city squares. Even those who dislike Sol's policies would agree that our history is worth remembering. With his unfair decree, Rain is effectively attempting to censor that history, and he himself will be remembered unkindly for it. Rain shatters Swordlish school tradition, taking advantage of the full scope of his new presidential powers. Hey, to be fair, if you guys agreed with my thing, I would have so far-ranging powers. The only reason I'm able to take advantage of my far-ranging powers is you wouldn't let me limit my own powers. This is on you. Good job. You caused this. Completely. Anton Rain single-handedly sounded the death knell for Swordland's traditional public school system by mandating equality among male and female students. Shocking. I can't believe I would do that. Equality. I can't believe it. We believe this will result in generations of Swordlish women who have no clue how to darn socks or bake their husbands a pie, but who do they have their heads filled with useless numbers and figures? Yeah, useless numbers and figures. Okay, so apparently men shouldn't learn that either if they're useless. The women's liberals must be thrilled, but we at the Post fear for the future of our country. Bergia to receive regional autonomy. President Rain has just signed a presidential decree establishing a semi-autonomous regional government in Bergia. According to the new laws, the local assembly in Deir will decide on internal matters of Bergia without direct orders from the central government. The governor of Bergia will soon be replaced after the local election, and the governor will be elected by the residents of Bergia. Lachevin Times, Autonomous Zone of Bergia. The Autonomous Zone of Bergia has been officially formed, marking an important milestone in the quest for regional autonomy and self-governance. Under the new structure, Bergia will have increased decision-making powers, allowing for greater local empowerment within the broader Swordland administration framework. The dismissal of former Governor Felix Braun following a regional election demonstrates a commitment to democratic processes and the will of the Blutish community. The appointment of Ishval Erzin, a Blutish resident of Bergia, as the new government reflects the desire for fresh leadership and a renewed focus on local interests. With increased decision-making powers, the Autonomous Zone of Bergia can now shape its own policies within the confines of national legislation. This development is a testament to President Rain's commitment to decentralization and fostering regional self-determination. I mean, I'm hoping just for Bergia. Circling over Stalport. Patricio Alvarez, the Prime Minister of Lesbia, on a scheduled visit to the Republic of Angnolia to meet Prime Minister Van Herten, had failed to get off the plane when it landed on the Stalport International Airport. It is believed that he has been too drunk to get off the plane. The assembled dignitaries waited at the airplane at the scheduled hour, but Alvarez's plane did not land. Airport officials reported that it was circling over Stalport. After circling for 2 hours, the plane landed, but Alvarez did not come out. Lesbian officials informed Van Herten that Alvarez was unwell, and that foreign ministers would join the meeting instead. Autonomous zone formed in Bergia, embarking on the path of self-government. In a shocking turn of events, the Solist approved the foundation of the autonomous zone of Bergia, a highly popular campaign of the Bloodish community. Following a regional election, Governor Herbert Kroll has been replaced by Hishval Herzen, reflecting the will of the Bergian community. Under the new framework, Bergia gains a measure of autonomy within the broader Swordland administrative structure, as well as the democratic right to elect its own regional government. The foundation of the Regional Assembly of Bergia, led by the governor, grants the region increased decision-making powers and the ability to shape its own policies within the boundaries set by the national legislation. According to the new rules, the governor will not be able to operate without the approval or the cooperation of the Regional Assembly. The transformist development signifies a positive shift towards local governance, allowing Bergia to shape its future and address the needs of its residents. We, the radicals, celebrate this victory of the Bluish community against the Swordish government and finally earning the rights of local governance after decades of oppression. While this is no means to the end of their fight for Bluish rights, it is a significant milestone that every Bergian would celebrate in the next days. Desolinization, finally. Can it be? Has Anton Rain really dared to begin dismantling the cult of personality around his still idolized predecessor, Colonel Torkel's soul? Though the so-called father of our country made millions miserable under his regime, his portrait still hangs in schools and government buildings, and statues of him exist in nearly every city in Swordland. This ends now as Rain has ordered the process of desolinization that will see the former president likeness scrubbed from public existence. We can't wait until we never have to see that man's face again. Rain makes decree for gender equality. It took using his near unlimited presidential powers to be able to do it, but Anton Rain finally made stride towards closing the gender gap in Swordland's notoriously antiquated education system. As today, girls in the country's public schools must have access to the same classes opportunities as boys. We still have a long way to go before women in the country are truly equal, but now that we know Rain can wave his hand and make these kinds of laws happen, we expect it's only a matter of time. We'll deal with the authoritarian implications later. Woo! Authoritarian implications later. Authoritarian implications later. That's my new motto. That's my new way. No more care for democratic change. We're gonna make things better by force. Hey, it's their fault. If one person just voted my way, just one simple person, I wouldn't have this power. What you gonna do? I wouldn't have this power. I wouldn't, all that stuff those conservatives hated, those wouldn't have happened. They would have I gave them the power to vote, strip me of the ability to do that. They said no. What you gonna do? The moon train slowly started to move. The train had been in service for many years. It had 9 locomotives with special quarters and an office. As the name implied, it was painted bright maroon. Among camera flashes and cheers, we departed from Holsworth Central train station. Our destination was Perla, the capital of Lesbia. The historic route we were using was also called the Southern Express. We passed through the Lesbian mountain range to the lowlands, with a short stop at the beautiful Surya Naval, where Lesbian security forces joined us. Looking outside the window, the difference in wealth between Vaglin and Surya Naval was extraordinary. I heard a knock on the door to my office on the train. Simon entered. Mr. President. Simon, yes, what is it? I wanted to have a quick chat about Prime Minister Alvarez, and a quick heads up. There have been some rumors about his demeanor in public appearances. What do you mean? What did he do? He is known to have met with other state leaders while intoxicated on various occasions. Some even call him an alcoholic. Is this something that could affect the trade deal? Honestly, I don't know. He handed me a newspaper. The headline was "Circling over Stallport." This happened just yesterday. Apparently, he was so drunk that he couldn't get off the plane on a diplomatic visit. After this incident, some say he is unfit to serve, but I don't believe that at all. Why is that? Although his presidency is riddled with these kinds of incidents, I also heard he is a shrewd man. Thanks for giving me a heads up. I am sure we will be fine, Mr. President. We are almost at Perla. I will return to my cabin now. I'll see you when we arrive. A few minutes later, with a long whistle, our train came to a stop. I waved to the crowd from the window. The crowds of reporters that flocked over were pushed away by the lesbian security guards. We made our way to our cars, and the convoy began its short trip to the Yellow House. The Yellow House was situated at the very center of Perla, in the middle of a circular park that was off limits to regular citizens. The park was full of roses on small patches. The convoy came to a stop, and I made my way to the entrance. The assistants directed me to a room to wait for Prime Minister Alvarez. I sat in an executive room and looked up at the golden chandeliers. After 10 minutes, there was still no sign of Prime Minister Alvarez. It was almost time for our meeting. My chair started to feel uncomfortable. I stood up and walked around to look at the various items in the room. A beautiful golden teapot piqued my interest. Alright. Let's inspect the teapot. I started inspecting the teapot. While I was touching it, the handle broke off. I looked around. Thankfully, no one was in the room. I'll just leave the broken handle next to the teapot. The door opened, and Patricio Alvarez entered. Although I knew that he was one of the youngest state leaders in the world, I was surprised at how boyish he looked. At his age, he was leading one of the strongest countries in Eastern Europa. He was holding his head like he had a headache, and he was stumbling. Upon seeing me, he immediately composed himself. We shook hands. He gestured toward the two couches, and we sat down face to face. President Rain, welcome to Perla. Good to have you here. I hear a lot about your successes. And I hear a lot about your successes as well, Mr. Alvarez. I try, Mr. Rain. I smelled the strong odor of alcohol. Don't say anything. Let's begin, then. So, you are here for the trade deal? What was it about again? Can you remind me? We want to provide Swordish tungsten in return for lesbian capital. Ah, yes, right. Sorry, I've just been very busy today. You know, being a president makes you pretty busy, so I don't have any issue with this deal, except there is one problem. He smirked. Well, then, your decision to defend the border while Smollett committed war crimes diverted all those refugees here. Now we have a full-blown refugee crisis in Lesbian, which unfortunately means that the price has gone up, Mr. Rain. Tell me what you want, Mr. Alvarez. The only thing anyone could possibly ever want out of Welland. I want their oil. And how are you planning to get that? A lot of oil from Welland is passing through Swordland. A Swordish Petroleum owns most of the oil trade in Swordland. Do you see where I'm going with this? Enlighten me. I want you to sell me Swordish Petroleum or the deal is off. You really are a shrewd man, Mr. Alvarez. I will take that as a compliment. Shrewd, but not investigative enough. The Energy Protection Act doesn't allow such a transaction. Then thank you for coming this far to visit Perla. He got up and started making his way to the door. Goodbye. He left the room and an assistant arrived to escort me. What you gonna do? I literally can't do it. I literally just can't. Failed trade negotiations. The recent attempt to sign a significant trade deal has failed, resulting in negative mood among Swordland's and trade negotiators and policymakers. The failure of the deal may have far-reaching consequences, including potential economic impacts and damage to Swordland's reputation as a reliable trade partner. Well, I'm sorry we couldn't just give them oil that breaks our entire stuff. I can't just make magic. It was a dark, chilly evening when Peter called and asked if we could meet. He gave no details. All he said was that it was important. I drove alone through Holsword's suburbs until I reached the meeting point he named, 147 Rural Heck Avenue, number 26, our old campaign headquarters, untouched since the night of the election. This is where everything began. I made my way up the dusty staircase of the office building. The light in the second floor hallway was out, so I used a cigar lighter to find my way to the wooden door marked 26. I pulled on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The heavy door had always been a pain to open. Coming? Peter pushed on the door with all his weight. It made a screeching sound as it opened. Without further ado, I bid you welcome to the grand nostalgia trip, hosted by yours truly, Peter Vectorn. He made an exaggerated bow. The dust from the open door was still settling down. Feeling sentimental yet? Indeed, I haven't been to this place in ages. I miss it sometimes, even that damn door. Come over here, remember this? He walked over to his old desk and pointed to the gramophone that had annoyed our neighbors and kept us company for so many nights. Peter flipped the switch and it filled the room with swing music from the 20s. I'll be damned, it still works. I thought this office was sold off. No, I've been paying the rent. Too many memories attached to this place just to sell it. And you know, we might use it again soon. He put his hands under the desk and brought a bottle out. He took a swig out of it and passed the bottle to me. Aren't there any glasses? Palace life is pampering you too much. Just drink from the bottle like the old days. Remember where we come from. Peter snapped his fingers to the music while going through the items in the room. It looked virtually unchanged since election night. Come on, have a look around. See if it doesn't bring back memories. Check your old desk drawer. I walked over to my old desk, sat down on the squeaky chair, and opened the top drawer. Inside, there were a few old coins, pencils, and sheets of music. Underneath them, something caught my eyes. It was a photograph of me and Monica sitting under a tree. This must have been 10, maybe 15 years ago. We looked so young and so happy. Monica would love to see this. Nice find. Look at baby Anton. You didn't even have your iconic look. Let's take it. I took the photograph and slid it into my jacket pocket. Look through the storage bucket. I walked over to the tower of storage boxes and opened one of them. In one of these storage boxes, I found a heavy object, wrapped safely. I unwrapped it. It was an emerald-colored statue of a goat, the symbol of Swordland. I remember that this was a gift from Brenda, one of the 53 election campaign assistants. It would look good on my desk in the palace. Brenda, always sucking up to you. And where did it get her? Seriously, where? I have no idea where she ended up. Take the I lifted the statue box with the statue in it. Put it near the door so I could take it out on the way out. Go through the records next to the gramophone. I made my way to the gramophone and started flipping through the records next to it. I found one of my favorite albums ever, Mountains by Janet Grews. A set of plaintive folk songs that made me yearn for the countryside whenever I heard it. What a classic. You should mail that to Frank so he can learn what real music is. I'll take the record. Why wouldn't I just take all this? I pulled the record out, put it under my arm, and placed it next to the door. Enough going through old stuff. Let's talk. Yes, all in good time. He gestured to the bottle he had in his hand. No, I'm good. He shrugged, took a very big gulp out of the bottle, and staggered to the side afterwards. I know you, Peter. What are you hiding? Nothing. Let's go up to the roof. The view has always been amazing from there. He went up to the stairs to the roof. The view was mesmerizing. The buildings of Holsword twinkled below us, while the stars shone bright in the sky. We sat and leaned back against the wall, taking it all in. Right as I was starting to get up, I heard a sobbing sound. I turned to Peter and saw tears streaming down his cheek. I've not seen a night size beautiful enough to make Peter Vectorn cry. He wiped his tears away and laughed. I messed up, Anton. I messed up big time. Evelyn's leaving me. She wants a divorce. What the hell did you do? I've been sleeping with Livia Suno. What? I am shocked. I totally have not read this in 2 campaigns before. I cannot believe you would do such a thing. This was a complete shock to me the first time I played through this. It's not anymore. You've been what? I know she's your secretary. I'm so sorry. It's just, Evelyn has been the same since she lost her job, and Livia was giving me sultry looks from the day I hired her. You were away, I was drunk, and one thing led to another. But she's more than just a pretty girl, Anton. She's smart and kind. I think we really connected. Don't tell me you're gonna run off with her. No, we're ending things. I told her it's too unprofessional, and I want Evelyn back. Who else knows besides me and the 3 of you? Nobody, I swear. There's an edge of desperation in Peter's voice. He took another drink. How many years have we known each other? How many scraps have we gotten ourselves out of? I can handle this myself. Just trust me. And don't bring anyone else into this. I turned to face my friend and vice president. The habits that had gotten him dubbed the bad boy of Sworddish politics when we were young were no longer so charming, coming from a middle-aged man. And he was still capable politician, and I couldn't ignore a long history together. I'm sorry. I will be blunt. You will fix this, or I will remove you from office. Yes, Anton, I understand. Thank you so much. Don't mention it. I mean, don't mention it. Without waiting for his reaction, I left the rooftop alone and made my way downstairs. On my way, I grabbed my belongings and took one last look at the office. It had been home to some happy memories for sure, but this visit had permanently curbed my nostalgia. As soon as I arrived home, I headed up to the study, sat down and stared at the telephone. I'm gonna call Lucien and tell him what happened. I picked up the phone and dialed Lucien's number. He picked up very quickly. Yes, Mr. President? I told Lucien everything Peter had told me about himself, Evelyn, and Livia. Thank you for calling me, Mr. President. It serves to confirm suspicion of my own. We have to meet. Right now? Tomorrow morning in your office, early, before either of the two arrive. Don't mention this up with anyone else. I fear we may have more than a mere dalliance on our hands. The line dropped. I stared at the receiver, wondering what his last statement meant. What was going on that I didn't know about? I went to bed, but couldn't sleep at all. I wonder what that's about. Still, it's bad. Recovered trade volume. Recent diplomatic efforts by Sordon have led to a successful signing of a conference trade deal with a significant trade partner. This has had a positive impact as the increased trade has led to accretion. Yeah, because we still have 2 trade partners. It's not like we're too bad off. It's just, yeah, still not great. CSP condemns the submarine attacks on a cargo ship. The CSP has issued a strong condemnation following the recent submarine attack on a cargo ship off the coast of Marquiance near northeast Rumburg. The incident involving Rumburg submarine erroneously targeting a cargo vessel belonging to United Cortana has raised serious concerns about maritime safety and the need for improved communication channels. In light of the incident, the CSP is calling for immediate measures to prevent such occurrences in the future. A key proposition is the establishment of an emergency security hotline between Grace and CSP. This would serve as a platform for real-time information exchange, ensuring quick and informative responses to any maritime distress signals. The Pact believes the initiative will significantly enhance maritime safety, providing a buffer against inadvertent escalations. Governor Edders displays terror-stolen portrait in Dier. Yesterday, a controversial development has taken place in the People's Plaza of Dier, as a portrait of the notorious terrorist Dylan Arge, the former leader and founder of the BFF, was prominently displayed by the orders of Governor Erzin. Arge, currently serving time in Antal Rock Prison for his involvement in heinous acts of violence, used to be considered the #1 enemy of the Swordish state. The Ministry of Interior swiftly raised concerns about this development, questioning the jurisdiction of the Autonomous Zone and granting the new governor the authority to showcase and promote individuals considered enemies of the state. They also expressed apprehension regarding the potential escalation of tensions between the Bloodish and Swordish communities within the region. The National Front Party, NFP, was quick to condemn the decision, emphasizing their strong opposition to any glorification of terrorists. Some individual members even went as far as threatening mob justice against the new administration in Bergia, further heightening concerns about social unrest. That's not great, but hopefully it'll be fine. National Business Council demands stimulus. Oh, at least our growth is literally even right now. Like, that is the most even growth you could get. I mean, it's might be technically slightly up, maybe. It's pretty even. The NBC leadership figures from both state and private sectors have brought forward requests for government stimulus initiatives in light of budget surplus. The missed opportunities of growth and lack of objectives to drive an upward trend is being criticized. More economic intervention is requested to unlock a grander economic expansion in the near and long-term future. On it. But first, we'll continue on and we'll see what stuff he thinks there is also going on in the next episode. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.